Hello there my cuties and welcome back. I am so sorry. This video was supposed to be done in June for Pride Month, however, I unfortunately was in the hospital for a week and have been kind of in recovery mode. I will type in the description kind of why, because it's not really important for the video, I'll be honest. Also, FYI, I will be using the word intimacy because YouTube is a little more picky about some of the words I use, and some other things will kind of be replaced and moved around for stuff. So, just letting you know. So, did anybody else growing up feel kind of weirdly out of place when they would talk about crushes? Growing up, I remember girls in my middle school class would constantly talk about their celebrity crushes and all of these other things, and like a lot of weird things that middle schoolers would just yap about when it came to crushes and just being deeply infatuated with handsome band members and other celebrities. And quite frankly, I just could not wrap my mind around it at all. The closest thing I could ever get was my crush on 2D from the Gorillaz, and let me tell you, no one in middle school could understand his beauty. I tried showing them and they just were grossed out. Sure, aesthetically, I could understand that people were attractive, well, some of them, but I couldn't really get how you could have like a full-blown deep crush on somebody without ever really meeting them. And I think what made it more confusing is I would get really intense feelings and crushes towards fictional characters to the point they would kind of feel real, and I wish they were because I would love to have a relationship with them. Yes, I'm sure asking yourself, how do you get a crush on a fictional character? But celebrities make no sense. And trust me, I'm also confused on that. I think it just comes down to the fact that character in the video game I can be around a lot more and talk to, and then a celebrity, what, I can see clips of. I understand having a crush on them when they're in a TV show or in a movie, but that's the character, not the actor. And before people think I only get crushes on fictional characters, yes, I do talk to real humans. This wasn't the case of me only liking fictional characters. I've had real relationships with real people, thank you very much. But as I've become older, it's become a lot more difficult to have those relationships and use dating apps and just find people because, I mean, every time on the app, it's just, hi, how are you? DTF? No. DTF. No. Many people around me would suggest that maybe I'm just asexual, and that's a fair assumption, but it also didn't feel correct either. Because in relationships, I still craved that intimacy, and I still found people attractive in that sense. It wasn't a case of just having no feelings in that area. It was just lower than, I guess, the average person. More people just looking at them didn't, like, set off those bells in my brain of, like, ooh, oonga boonga, I want that. It was just like, dang, they're very attractive. And, like, I would get blushy at, like, muscles and flexing, but it was just this kind of innocent blushing and crush. It wasn't like, you know, the more perverse side of things. Not typically, at least. The idea of just jumping right into doing the hanky-panky with somebody really, really freaked me out. And granted, I do have some personal reasons behind that and why I don't enjoy that idea. It was even before that thing happened to me that I just wasn't really into that. It was weird, and I just couldn't get to people where I wanted to do that and I would enjoy it because, again, they would be attractive, but it wasn't like the monkey brain in my part just going like, ooh, yes, let's go. I want you and me to go to the Pillow Town. It was just, dang, they're really attractive and, like, I would like to hold their hand. For me, someone becomes beautiful the more I fall deeper and deeper in love with them. It's kind of like I'm wandering around with pure goggles on in a weird sense. They can kind of go from goofy looking to just the most attractive person I have ever met, ever. And granted, that's kind of what happens no matter what when you fall in love with somebody. They just become more beautiful by the day. It was, again, this sense of, like, they became beautiful and attractive in the sense of, like, hey, that bed right there looking pretty good. Sorry. I think that's kind of what like leads back into the hilarity of talking about the video game crushes thing, because there was nothing more embarrassing than getting a very intense crush on a video game character and they look like this and trying to explain like, I find this attractive, oh my gosh, they're the love of my life, I love them so much, and they just are a potato or look like that and scary. And I'm like, no, I swear they're great. It's even worse because I had a genuine like infatuation with a character from Dragon Age 2 named Anders for 6 years. That was essentially my boyfriend in my brain for 6 years. Because granted, I was very lonely and sad and traumatized, but 6 years? Whew. I think when I try to explain what demisexual is to people, they're just kind of like, wasn't that everybody? Isn't that just how it works? And for a while, I was under the assumption that is also how it worked. And I think that's why I would flip-flop back and forth between saying I'm gay or bisexual, because it was so confusing to me, because I didn't have the same attraction that other people have when it comes to understanding their sexuality, and it was really confusing to try and understand, which is, again, funny because video games literally brought back that of me being like, oh yeah, no, I'm bisexual. I think being around my partner right now has actually really helped me understand that I'm demisexual, because being around somebody who is so extremely not at all on the A spectrum in the slightest really helped like solidify that in my brain, as well as being around other friends who are not on the A spectrum, because multiple of my friends are, and like most of us did not realize it, which is hilarious. But being around people who could explain things to me of their attraction and looking at actors, movies, and just people existing around them and being like, yeah, like I want to tap that. And I'm like, how? How do you do that? How does your brain like look at somebody and you're good with that, you're chill with that? And I mean that in a genuine, like, I don't even think it's bad. I'm kind of envious of that, because for me, looking at people, again, I'm like, oh, they're attractive, but then they want to just immediately jump into it, and I'm like, oh no, ew, don't touch me. And again, so many friends would suggest, oh, maybe again you're just asexual, and it's like, no, I'm not, I'm on the asexual spectrum, I guess, because I'm demisexual, but I need that connection. People are quite literally not attractive in that sense to me unless I have that form, that connection. And other people will say, again, oh, that's just normal. Like, everybody has to have that to want to do that. No, it's not. It isn't. Because a lot of people just go off of that carnal want, and they just see somebody and they just go towards it. It is lust at first sight. And that's valid and awesome. 100% thumbs up. For me, it is not. I may get blushy, I may get embarrassed and shy around people I find very attractive, but it, again, is that more, I suppose, innocent, quote-unquote, way of being attracted to somebody, but I have no at all want to be touched by them, to go and, like, rent out a hotel room with somebody. The idea of it, like, scares me and gives me kind of just an ick that I can't even fully explain in words, at least not in ways that, try to demonetize. It was all really confusing, and there are certain parts of my sexuality I quite literally cannot explain on YouTube because of that, and also, like, I don't think you guys care when I get too TMI with things, but, like, there's a lot of things I enjoy within that realm, that world, that I'm very positive in that direction, and I'm big thumbs up, and I think it's great and awesome for all of that. But, I prefer a lot of it just staying within words and text and fiction, because physically doing things with people I don't know is scary. And even saying that, people would be like, maybe you're asexual. And I don't like when people try to assign sexualities to other people. Just let me figure it out. And again, what I figured out was I'm demisexual, and it's awesome, and I love it. I have no shame in that. And the only thing that's annoying is when I try to explain it to people, because I get, again, the whole, no, but that's everybody conversation, and I have to be like, if you feel that way, perhaps do research, and, you could be Demi. You could not be. I think sexuality is a beautiful, fluid experience that everybody needs to figure out the journey on their own and who they are, and it took me years and years and years to kind of come to terms and figure out who I am as a person and words that describe me and what I am. And some people will sit back and say, well, labels don't matter, you don't need the label, or even just you have too many and this is annoying, why do you need all of these? And that's totally understandable. You can go and not have any labels, or you can have 6 billion. I don't care. Live your best life. But to me, it is important to be able to put things to what I feel, and some will say, but you're putting it in a box and you don't need to do that. And you're right. I don't. But I want to, because it makes me happy. And at the end of the day, that's what matters, is doing something that makes me happy and express who I am. And not only that, other people who are demisexual will see this, or see my art and go, oh my gosh, that's me, I'm just like that. Because we don't really have any representation in media and just really anything. I feel like it's awesome that asexuality is finally getting more representation. The only thing I have found as far as demisexual representation was in Death Stranding, of all things. Here it is. It made me giggle, and also really warmed my heart that it was this thing that was talked about kind of in depth in the game. I was fascinated by it. There isn't really a whole lot in media that tackles it, because, yeah, it is a kind of funky thing to explain and try to write into media, so I understand that. And I think there's a lot of things around just sexuality and asexuality and just any of it that can be a little more difficult to write when it comes into representation of media. But I am here to speak about my experience on things and maybe help others feel content and understood. Because if at any point you might think, that kind of sounds like me, I advise everybody to do their own research and look into things. I just remember feeling a little out of place and awkward growing up, and it became even worse as I started becoming an adult and trying to get into the dating scene. Every single message I got was people not even wanting to go on a first date, or if they did, they expected it immediately after the first date. And I hated it. It made me feel kind of used, and it was really icky. And that kind of feeling comes from, unfortunately, trauma that happened to me when I was younger that I will not be getting into on this video. My demisexuality was not formed from a trauma. It was there way before. It exacerbated because I think so many people pushed me and tried to make me do things I didn't want to do, because it just didn't feel right. It wasn't who I am, and I didn't like it. And this is a reminder to you all that you should say no and stand up and fight for what you feel, and leave people that push you and try to make you do things that you don't enjoy. You are worth way more than that, and you deserve to feel comfortable and loved in a relationship and have people respect those boundaries. You're not alone in how you feel. You're not alone in feeling confused and lost, and whether you are demisexual, asexual, or some other thing within the entire world of sexualities, I want you to know that whatever you're feeling is genuinely valid. I'm not just saying that as a you are valid kind of BS. I understand what you're going through. It's hard trying to feel seen and trying to understand what's going on with just everything. And there's nothing wrong with trying to do research and reaching out. I have my community. You can always come to my Discord and ask questions. We're always happy to try and offer advice. And I'm always happy to listen to people, because at the end of the day, growing up in these trying times is confusing and kind of scary. But you're not alone, and you never will be. Hello, I want to give a big thank you to my Patreons. To my $5 Patreons, thank you so much to Seraphy, Tawny, Deshikish, and Izzy. To my beautiful $10 Patreons, thank you so much to I Don't Need No Gender and Nightmares. And we can never, ever forget the outstanding, amazing, wonderful Noah. Thank you so much for my $100 Patreon. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are around the world. And hey, drink some water. I'll see you next time. Bye!